Well, it's happened. I ran out of ideas for KU basketball content. And now I bring back KU football content. I know. It's going to be weird. But I think this video will be interesting. Because we're not just going to be talking about KU football. We're going to be talking about their opponents. And opponents I would love to see KU play in the near future. Let's get into the video. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Drew, better known as RockChalk01, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 KU football matchups that I would love to see in the near future. Quick side note, most of these matchups have happened, but they haven't happened for 10 plus years. But yeah, this is just my honest opinion, and I really want to see these matchups happen sooner rather than later because I would love to see these games happen in action. But before I get started, I do have some honorable mentions that will not be on this list. The first of those honorable mentions are the 4 new Big 12 schools. So Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU are left off the list because as of about a couple months ago, they are officially going to join the Big 12 at the start of the 2023-2024 academic school year. So basically, not this coming football season, but the following football season. And we play Houston this coming football season, so yeah, they were going to be left off the list anyway. The final school that's going to be left off this list is Missouri. Now, the reason why I have Missouri left off this list because this is probably the most well-known matchup that should happen in the near future, but it's supposed to. The 2025, 2026, 2031 and 2032 football seasons will feature a matchup between Kansas and Missouri. So that's why that matchup's left off the list. However, every other matchup is fair game. So without further ado, let's get into the rankings.
Number 10, KU versus Boise State.
So there are a couple motives on why I have Boise State on the list. One's pretty major, but the other one is kind of like a personal preference. The major one is that KU and Boise State haven't met on the gridiron. Not once. In fact, I don't think they've met on the hardwood either, but I could be wrong. The other motive behind this, and that's my personal preference, is that I would love to see KU play on the blue turf. Pretty simple. The color schemes on the blue turf just kind of really pop off between the two schools. You got crimson and blue for KU, orange and blue for Boise State, and especially if that happens on the blue turf, it's mwah. I mean, I'd also love to see them play in Lawrence as well. Now, there is speculating rumors that Boise State might join the Big 12 in the near future. I don't see that happening as soon as it says it is, but I do see it happening in 20, 25 years down the line. But I would love to see this matchup happen, so that's why Boise State is number 10.
Number 9, KU versus California.
Number 9, I got California, and there really isn't a big motive behind it, but this matchup has happened in the past. KU and Cal played last in 1992, and Cal actually has a 3-game winning streak. Shocker. But the main kind of reason why I have them on the list is because KU really hasn't played a game on the West Coast in decades. And this would probably be the school that would allow them to do that. Yes, I know they've played in Colorado and they played in Arizona, but they have not played in California in forever. And honestly, I think California would be the best fit. The other school that I thought of would be Stanford, but I really don't want to play the Cardinal in football. So that's why I've got the California Golden Bears here at number 9.
Number 8, KU versus North Carolina.
Well, I like a good basketball reference here and there. Number 8, I've got the North Carolina Tar Heels, and yeah, with the recent events that's happened in basketball as KU played North Carolina in the NCAA National Championship game, this matchup has actually happened on the gridiron. The last time KU and North Carolina played was in 1986, and they've only had 2 matchups, which North Carolina won both. But I would love to see this matchup happen in my lifetime because it's a battle of blue bloods in basketball. We've already seen this happen with KU and Duke, as they played this season and they're going to play next season. And I've also seen Duke play KU before in 2009. But I haven't seen KU in North Carolina, and I would love to see that happen soon. I would love to see KU play in Chapel Hill, and I would love North Carolina to come down to Lawrence to see the Memorial Stadium. But yeah, this would be a battle of basketball schools, and I would love to see that happen. So that's why North Carolina is here at number 8.
Number 7, KU versus Tennessee.
Rock Chalk meets Rocky Top. Number 7, I have the Tennessee Volunteers. And although these two schools have met on the hardwood in the last couple of years, the two schools haven't met on the gridiron in almost 50 years. The last time KU and Tennessee played was in 1974. Now, my motives behind this, it's pretty simple. It's family ties. Little history lesson. So, my mom went to KU, my aunt went to Tennessee. It's going to be a sibling rivalry. I would love to see this happen with my mom and aunt in the same room at the same time. It'd be classic, but ultimately, I would love to see this as a fan and watch it in Neyland Stadium and also in Memorial Stadium as well. But really, the big motive is because my aunt and my mom both went to these two schools, so it'd be a sibling rivalry. So that's why I have Tennessee here at number 7.
Number 6, KU versus Notre Dame.
Well, another family motive behind this one. Number 6, I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and this is probably one of the most recent matchups on this list, but it hasn't happened in a long time. And I can barely remember this because, well, I was a baby. The last time Notre Dame and KU met on the football field was in 1999. I was about 2 months old. Now, the real motive behind this, and it kind of is a little bit of a sad one for me, it's mainly because of my late grandfather. So he was a die-hard Notre Dame football fan, but he was also a pretty good-sized KU basketball fan. So about January, once football season ends, he would switch over. But yeah, he loved his Notre Dame football. So I would love to see this happen because mainly it would kind of be a tribute to my grandpa in a way. But I would love to see this matchup happen not only in Memorial Stadium, but in Notre Dame Stadium. In fact, I would love to go and watch this in Notre Dame Stadium. Yeah, I would be an outlier, but it would be awesome. So that's why I have Notre Dame here at number 6.
Number 5, KU versus Texas A&M.
Fair warning, this is the most recent matchup on the list. Number 5, I've got the Texas A&M Aggies, and although these two schools have met on the hardwood recently, I believe it was 2018, these two schools haven't met on the gridiron in over a decade. The last time KU and Texas A&M faced off on the field was in 2011. Now, if you know the story, then you'll understand it, but if you are like under the age of 10, I'll give you a little bit of a history. The motive behind this was that KU and Texas A&M used to be conference foes. And it all started in the year of 1996 as KU was in the Big 8, Texas A&M was in the Southwestern Conference. Both conferences joined together to form the Big 12. It stayed strong for over 15 years. I think it's 15 years. Numbers could be wrong. But in the academic year of 2011 and 2012, it was announced that Texas A&M would leave for the SEC. And the matchup hasn't happened since, and I would love to see it happen, especially since they've expanded Kyle Field from like 80,000 when they were in the Big 12 to over 100,000. I would love to see that matchup happen. So that's why I have Texas A&M here at number 5.
Number 4, KU versus Iowa.
If I had a nickel for any time that someone said KU and Iowa used to be conference opponents, I'd still have one nickel. Number 4 is the Iowa Hawkeyes, and while they have met on the gridiron in the past, it hasn't happened in over 60 years. The last time Iowa and KU met on the field was in 1960, and unfortunately, Iowa holds a 3-win lead over the Jayhawks. But yes, this was true that KU and Iowa used to be conference opponents. And this goes all the way back to 1907 with the Missouri Valley Athletic Association Conference. There were 7 original members, and they include KU, Iowa, Iowa State, Drake, Missouri, Nebraska, and Washington University in St. Louis. This was held up, and it kept going on for a solid 20 more years. But Iowa State unfortunately left in 1912 to officially become a member of the Big Ten. I would love to see this matchup happen sooner rather than later. I mean, both states are geographically close, so makes sense. But yeah, Iowa here at number 4.
Number 3, KU versus Vanderbilt.
Well, this one is pretty interesting that it's this high. Number 3, I have the Vanderbilt Commodores, and yes, this matchup surprisingly has happened, and there is a big motive behind this one. Vanderbilt and KU haven't met up since 1985, and the reason behind this, they're both the lovable losers of their football conferences. Vandy with the SEC, KU with the Big 12. Boom, why don't they just meet up now? I'm surprised these two haven't met up, and it actually happened with another lovable loser with Rutgers, as KU met up with them in 2018. But yeah, this matchup hasn't happened yet, and I'm surprised it hasn't. So I would love to see that matchup go down between the Jayhawks and Commodores very soon. So that's why I have the Vanderbilt Commodores at number 3.
Number 2, KU versus Colorado.
Well, there's a pretty good motive behind this one. Number 2, I've got the Colorado Buffaloes, and these two schools have met on the gridiron for a long time, but it hasn't happened in over a decade. The last time KU and Colorado met was in 2010. Now, the big motive behind this one is that KU and Colorado used to be longtime conference opponents. This goes all the way back to the Big 6, then the Big 7, then the Big 8, and finally the Big 12, before Colorado officially announced that they would leave the Big 12 after the 2010-2011 academic year to join the Pac-10 to form the Pac-12. Now, these schools have met up all over the place, especially if you can tell by television standards. They have met on the hardwood multiple times in the last decade. But why haven't they met up on the football field? I don't know. I would love to see it happen sooner than later. So that's why I have Colorado here at number 2.
Number 1, KU versus Nebraska.
This one should have been pretty obvious once I left Missouri off the list. Number 1, it's the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Boy, howdy do these two schools have some history with each other. And I'm surprised this matchup hasn't met on the gridiron in over a decade. The last time these two schools met was in 2010. Now, there are 2 motives behind this, and the first one is that they used to be conference opponents. This goes all the way back to the Missouri Valley Athletic Conference in 1907. Then the two schools formed the Big 6, the Big 7, the Big 8, and finally the Big 12. And then that all came crumbling down once Nebraska officially announced that they were going to leave the Big 12 after the 2010-2011 academic year to join the Big 10. The biggest and ultimate motive behind this is the rivalry between these two schools. Because at the time, Kansas and Nebraska was the longest rivalry game west of the Mississippi. The longest uninterrupted rivalry game, I should say, because yes, there has been rivalry games that spanned over 150 years, but they play on and off and on and off. This one kept going every single stinking year for over 100 years. And then once Nebraska left, it hasn't happened since. Now, I believe the longest continuous rivalry game is Wisconsin and Minnesota for the Paul Bunyan Axe. Why hasn't this matchup happened? It's happened almost everywhere else. It's happened on the soccer pitch. It's happened on the volleyball court. It even happened on the hardwood 2 years in a row. Please bring this matchup back. It needs to happen on the gridiron. So that's why I have Nebraska at number 1. And that's going to do it for me ranking the top 10 KU football matchups that I would love to see in the near future. Let me know in the comments what other matchups you would like to see. Also, leave a like, share, and subscribe, and push that notification bell. Tell your friends about these videos, and I should see you again when the next one comes out. But until then, have a good day. Never ever bring exotic dangers to the field house, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.